Hi friends, welcome back for card number 3 in the Flowering Tulips tutorials. Tammy Beard here with Stampin' Savvy. I am so glad that you have joined me. So let me show you the card that we are going to be making. This is the front of the card, but the fun is on the inside. I call this one the pop-up garden. So when you open it, it pops up and you've got that beautiful mother of pearl specialty paper. I don't know if you can see the sparkle there, but just beautiful. And again, with some savvy tips, this is a very simple card that anybody can make. So let's get started. So the first thing that you're going to want is your card base, and this is just a traditional A2 card base. It is 8.5 by 5.5. It's been scored in half at 4.25. Then for the designer paper, we want our piece for the front, and it is going to go like that. And then for the inside piece, it is 8 inches by 5.25, and it's been scored at 3, 4, and 5 inches. Now, I like having the designer paper in the inside because I think the pattern just really brightens it up. But it doesn't have to be designer paper. You can use cardstock, colored cardstock, or white cardstock, whatever you prefer. But in this case, we are using that leftover piece from card number 1. So we've got that one ready to go. I do want to show you when you do your scoring on this one, or I should say you're folding, what you're going to do is with the pattern face up, the first thing you're going to do is you are going to fold it in half. And you want this to get to be as even as possible and that it is straight. Sometimes, you can get off just a titch in your scores. So just make sure that it is straight. Then the other two outer score lines each fold towards the center. So it creates a W, or I guess if we turn it that way, that's the W. That is what you want it to look like. And actually, how it works inside the card base is more like this. So we're going to be putting it in like that, and that creates the step. Easy, right? Okay, then you're going to want for your die cuts, you're going to want to use the edge die that's included with the Flowering Tulips bundle. And I have cut one that was 2.25 inches high from the mother of pearl specialty paper. And you really just want to make sure that when you lay it on your strip, that your flowers are towards the top and they just don't go past the top, because you can always trim your bottom piece down, a little bit if you need to. So just make sure your die cuts are good at the top. Now, if you want to do a second row like I did on this one, then that's an option as well. You just want to step down, and I have the notes in the PDF tutorial on that. It does, give it a little bit of variety, but that mother of pearl paper is just beautiful. So if you don't want to hide it and just want to do one row, which is what we're going to do today, then that's great. So here is an example. This was the original card that I designed as the prototype. And what I really wanted you to see is the 3 rows that I used here in the garden. Now these 2 colors are not included in the kit because I actually made this before I had finalized the kit colors. But really, I just want you to see the 3 tiers and how they graduate in size. Also, I use die cuts on these, so that's an option. It could be die cuts or punch pieces. Really, when it comes to decorating the inside, you can just have a lot of fun with this. Okay, before we start the assembly, you are going to want to do your stamping. So you're going to want to stamp your watermark on the back of the card base if you do that, and then go ahead and do the sentiments that are on the inside. And I will point out on this one, what I did is to do that flower, I just used the same Poppy Parade ink, but I stamped off twice onto scrap paper to remove most of the ink, and then I stamped it here. That way it kind of fades to the background and doesn't compete with your sentiment. And then I did the same thing with the black for the center. Now these pieces were sized for, well, this one especially was sized for the sentiment. So if yours is larger, just adjust that. It's totally, up to you. I just give you the sizes that I use, but certainly feel free to adapt if you've got larger sentiments. Now for the one that is on the front, which is this one right here, I just wanted to show you a tip. So the stamp set says, just thinking of you today. But because this is a birthday card, I didn't want the just. I wanted it to be thinking of you today. That seemed more appropriate. So I want to show you how easy it is to do. You're going to take your stamp. This is just a little Post-it note. And I'm going to put that right over the just words, the words that I don't want to show up. So I'm going to cover that up, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to ink up the stamp. Then you're going to remove this. That's important. Remove that. And then we're going to come in and give that a stamp. And there we go. And then what I have used is I used the tailored tag punch. This is one of my favorites. I just love this punch. It is on the last chance sale retiring list for this year's catalog. So if you have your eye on it, you definitely want to grab this. I do think it's discounted too. But you can certainly use whatever you want. It doesn't have to be, obviously, this punch. It could be die cuts. It could be just trimmed into a square. Use what you have. Okay, now we're going to do the assembly. You are going to love how simple this is. Now, because I did do my stamping on the back, you just do want to make sure that you have your card orientation correct. So this is the front. We're going to go ahead and we're going to open this up. Then we're going to bring in our piece of the large designer series paper, whatever you have that's going to go towards the inside. You've got your folds at the bottom, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to fold this up. So again, we've got our W, okay? So we've got that. And then what we're going to do is that is about how you are going to be adhering into the card. You've got 3 basically equal margins on those top 3 sides. Now, the most important thing to do is you want it straight. If you get it at an angle, it's not going to want to open right. So that's really the most important thing, is to just be really careful and try and make sure that that top part is parallel to the card base so that you are square to your card base. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and flip this upside down. I'm going to come in with my adhesive, and I like the glue because it does give me a little wiggle room. And I like being pretty generous at this point, because the more glue that you have, the more wiggle room that you have, the longer it's going to take to dry. As long as you're not getting too close to your edges, you're good. Okay, now we're going to flip it back over. So again, we've got our W at the bottom, and we are going to adhere it just like we had laid it out. So again, I'm being really careful there at the top. I'm centered left to right. And I think that's good. And I'm going to go ahead and give that a good rub. And I've got some squeezing out. So much for my example of don't get it too close. But that's okay. That's what adhesive erasers are for afterwards. So if that does happen, no worries. The other thing you can do is you can come in with your anti-static powder like this. Stampin' Up! Sold one a few years ago as well. You can use that and just cover that up. So no worries. Okay, So we are all done. And I want to make sure that, you want to make sure that this is dry. We don't want this wiggling around anymore. And I do think that we're okay. So now what we're going to do is now we're going to go ahead and apply glue to this side. And then we're going to just close the card. Now this ensures that it is going to lay flat when it goes into your envelope, and we should be good. And we're going to just let that sit for a minute, and then when you open it up, there you go. See how easy that is? And we've got pretty good margins here, we've got pretty good margins there, and then there is your pop-up. So simple and easy to do. Now it's just a matter of decorating it. So what we're going to do is you're going to come in with this piece. Now what I want you to see is that the measurement that I gave you, which I think is 2 1/4, that basically clears so that you don't see the fold line. Your flowers, or the ground of the flowers, clear that. Now, if you are doing multiple rows of flowers, I want to show you a tip. And because the die is 6 inches, we've got some wiggle room because our width is only 5 1/4. So we are going to be trimming this down, and that would be to offset them. So see how they match up. Instead of having them directly underneath each other, I would move it like this and then make your cuts like that. Okay, so this piece has been trimmed down to 5 1/4, and it just so happened that this was kind of dangling. So I'm just going to trim that off. Again, you don't need to do that, but if that bothers you, then you can do that. Okay, all we're going to do is we're just going to glue that to the inside, just like that. So we're going to just put that down, and I'm just going to put a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the glue on here. It actually could go either way, whatever is easiest for you. If your piece is shorter and you do see this, then you just want to be careful that you keep your glue behind the piece that you are using to decorate. And then we're going to go ahead, and I've got that there, and then go ahead and just close that and give that a rub. You're going to want to let that sit for a minute, make sure it's dry, and there is your pop-up. Is that not beautiful? So I think I'm just going to leave that one. I'm just going to do the 1 row for this card. Then we're going to come in with our sentiments, and let's go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive and go ahead and put this one in. We're just going to center that one, and then we'll put our bottom piece on right here, again just centered to that panel. Cute. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to decorate the front. So we've got our large piece here of the designer paper, and I'm going to kind of put that off-centered. You could put it centered if you prefer. I'm going to drop it down a little bit lower than center. Then we've got this piece right here. Now, this is somewhat of a small sentiment, and I wanted the front to have a little more presence, let's say. So I had a 2-inch piece of this paper left. So I'm going to come in with the Label Me Lovely punch. Again, one of my favorites. I'm really happy to say this one is carrying over. And I'm going to just line that up, get it straight. And then I'm going to use this behind this piece. Again, it just gives it a little more presence and draws your eye to the sentiment. But before we do that, we're going to add a little bit of a embellishment, a bow. So I've adhered this piece. We're going to come in with a bow that's been tied with the fan baker's twine. This is the poppy and white. And what we're going to do is, I've got a mini glue dot on here on the knot, and I just kind of want that to be under like that. This is going to sit like that. And that looks really, really cute. Okay, so that's adhered in place. Then we're just going to come in with our glue dots. And let's go ahead and put one here. And then let's go ahead and put this one on this side. And then let's just kind of position those where we want them. I centered my line, so I'm just going to line the tag up with that. And then I know it's centered left to right. And oops, I forgot to take the, the paper off. There we go. There we go. And our cover is done. So we have Thinking of You Today. No one deserves a happier birthday than you. Love you so much. And you've got that beautiful mother of pearl paper that just shimmers. And there you have another beautiful card ready to give away. Thanks so much for joining me. I will see you in card number 4.